All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Guranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd Canto, Chapter 24, Renunciation of Kardamamuni, text number 5. Please repeat. Maitreya Uvacha
Uvacha
Devahuti
Devahuti
Api Sandesham Gauravena Prajapate Samyak Shradaya Purusham Kutashtam Abhajat Gurum Maitreya Uvacha Devahutyapi Sandesham Gauravena Prajapate Samyak Shradaya Purusham Utashtam Abhajat Gurum Maitreya Uvacha Devahutyapi Sandesham Gauravena Prajapate Samyak Shradaya Purusham Utashtam Abhajat Gurum Maitreya Uvacha Devahutyapi Sandesham Gauravena Prajapate Samyak Shradaya Purusham Utashtam Abhajat Gurum
Maitreya Uvacha Devahuti api sandesham Gauravena Prajapate Samyak Shraddhaya Purusham Utastham Abhajat Gurum
Maitreya Uvacha Devahuti api sandesham Gauravena Prajapati Samyak Shraddhaya Purusham Utastham Abhijata Gurum
Samyak Shradaya Purusham
Samyak Shradaya Purusham
Shradastam Apajat Guru
Buddhastam Vajat Guru. Maitreya Uvacha.
Maitreya Uvacha
Maitreya said,
Maitreya
Devahuti,
Devahuti
Devahuti, Api, also, Sandesham, the direction, Gauravena, with great respect, Rajavate, of Cardamom, Samyak, complete, Shradaya, having faith in, Purusham, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Utashtam, situated in everyone's heart, Avajat, worship, Gurum, most worshipful. Translation: Sri Maitreya said, Devahuti was fully faithful and respectful toward the direction of her husband, Kardama, who was one of the Prajapatis, or generators of human beings in the universe. O great sage, she thus began to worship the Master of the universe, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is situated in everyone's heart. Please repeat. Sri Maitreya said, Devahuti was fully faithful and respectful toward the direction of her husband Kardama, who was one of the Prajapatis, or generators of human beings in the universe. O great sage, she thus began to worship the Master of the universe, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is situated in everyone's heart. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. This process of spiritual realization, this is the process of spiritual realization. One has to receive instruction from a bona fide spiritual master. Kardama Muni was Devahuti's husband, but because he instructed her on how to achieve spiritual perfection, he naturally became her spiritual master also. There are many instances wherein the husband becomes the spiritual master. Lord Shiva also is the spiritual master of his consort Parvati. A husband should be so enlightened that he should become the spiritual master of his wife in order to enlighten her in the advancement of Krishna consciousness. Generally, Stri or woman is less intelligent than man. Therefore, if the husband is intelligent enough, the woman gets a great opportunity for spiritual enlightenment. Here it is clearly said, Samyak Shradaya, that with great faith one should receive knowledge from the spiritual master, and with great faith execute the performance of service. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, in his commentary on Bhagavad Gita, has especially stressed the instruction of the spiritual master. One should accept the instruction of the spiritual master as one's life and soul. Whether one is liberated or not liberated, one should execute the instruction of the spiritual master with great faith. It is also stated that the Lord is situated in everyone's heart. One does not have to seek the Lord outside. He's already there. One simply has to concentrate on one's worship in good faith, as instructed by the bona fide spiritual master, and one's efforts will come out successfully. It is also clear that the Supreme Personality of Godhead does not appear as an ordinary child. He appears as he is. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, he appears by his own internal potency, Atmamaya. And how does he appear? He appears when pleased by the worship of a devotee. A devotee may ask the Lord to appear as her son. The Lord is already sitting within the heart. And if he comes out of the body of a devotee, it does not mean that the particular woman becomes his mother in the material sense. He's always there, but in order to please his devotee, he appears as her son. Om Jnanam Timirandasya Gnanjala Shalakaya Chakshurumilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Thank you very much for coming this morning. So we're continuing with the wonderful pastime of Devahuti and Kardamamuni. Kardamamuni here is mentioned as a progenitor of human beings in the universe. So he's got quite a job. And we all know also from hearing the pastime how he lived very, had a very frugal life. He was an ascetic, basically. So materially speaking, he didn't have much to show for it. But then once he was married, to please his wife, he arranged all kinds of facilities for material enjoyment. So you can imagine how busy he was then. And then now he's being requested by his wife to provide spiritual direction. So this is a great lesson in family affairs, that everything has to be taken into consideration, both materially and spiritually. And Prabhupada says here, generally, it is a custom that the wife will take direction from the husband, but that is not always the case, especially in Kali Yuga. It is a matter of qualification. It's not a matter of one's bodily identifications, one's social status, and so on, but rather it is one kind of qualification. And what is the qualification? Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita. Just try to learn the truth by approaching the spiritual master. Inquire from him submissively, render service unto him. The self-realized soul can impart truth unto you. That is one of the qualifications of spiritual master, is become self-realized, beginning with the understanding that the distinction between body and spirit, and the spirit's relationship with the Supreme Spirit, God, and one's active part in rendering service to God. And what is that truth? Krishna says in the next verse, when you have thus learned the truth, you will know that all beings are but part of me, they are in me, and they are mine. So, it's not this is a very serious injunction to seek out a bona fide spiritual master. The whole verse here revolves around accepting a spiritual master. And if we look around in the world, the aspirations of most people in general is to achieve some kind of position, material position, whether it's through education, whether it's in business, so many fields of activities people are preoccupied with and are trying to advance materially speaking. This is the preoccupation of most people in life. The business of acquiring facilities for enjoyment, which boil down to the basic necessities of life: eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. Until the living being comes to the point of questioning one's position, one's existence, aham brahmasmi, one's spirit soul. So, all other attempts are ultimately temporary and therefore of no actual benefit for the living entity. So, seeking a spiritual master is the prime duty of one in the human form of life. Now, in the quest of trying to find a spiritual master, there may be many complexities. One has doubts, one has seen the experience of others, perhaps being disappointed with the relationship with the spiritual master. So many things can come into play in question one's ability to find someone. But I was thinking, like, supposing you're on a pilgrimage, right? You're going somewhere and it's in, I don't know, you're in New Mexico somewhere. And it's in the summer and extremely hot. So you're on a pilgrimage, but you got no shoes, right? And your feet are burning, and you're tolerating. And finally you go through some village, and there's a shoe store. So you go into the shoe store and you see all these different kinds of shoes. So remember the discomfort of not having shoes and walking in the hot desert sun, on the sands of the desert sun. And you're in the store, so you say, okay, well now what kind of shoes should I have? So there's so many considerations that come into mind. Well, first and foremost is comfort. You want to alleviate your distress, but no, you get distracted. Oh, well, but maybe I should have these sneakers, or maybe these sandals, or maybe these boots, and all these shoes have the same basic function, to offer protection to your feet. But they're also geared towards different situations. So, we try to find a spiritual guide. We don't want to lose sight of the fact that we're burning in this material existence. And yes, we want to try to find someone who, in some ways, we have a character, we have certain similarities, so that we can understand each other. We can understand each other. We have temperaments are to be considered, character, inclinations, and so on. So, yeah, it's not easy to make the decision. On the one hand, yeah, I'm suffering, I need a spiritual master. Because by making a commitment, the other important point in taking diksha, taking initiation from the spiritual master, is we're establishing a personal connection. It is not simply that we can inquire from this one, we can get answers in many places from many representatives. But establishing this personal connection, this commitment, is part of the process. And of course, we have the examples of all the acharyas who have taken this diksha. Even Lord Krishna himself is taking diksha from Sandipani Muni, Lord Chaitanya from Ishvara Puri. So they establish this personal connection. However, they can also inquire from other great saintly personalities, other gurus. And this is called diksha. As a matter of fact, the whole disciplic succession is primarily a shiksha lineage, one of instructing spiritual masters. So going back to the example of shoes. Okay, so you decide, okay, I'm going to wear sandals. I'm on the pilgrimage. I need something to protect my feet. instead of wandering around just trying to decide, I'm making a commitment, I take the sandals, I get comfort, and then, oh, now you find yourself, and now you're trekking up into the mountains. So the sandals may not be, you're saying, oh, well, I need something different for this particular situation. So a disciple, with the permission of his Diksha Guru, may inquire from another teacher for a particular circumstance. So we have beautiful examples of this in our in our lineage of great teachers, and one that comes to mind goes back into the during the time, shortly after the time of Lord Chaitanya. There was a couple in West Bengal. I forget the name of the town. And the gentleman's name was, the husband was Krishna Mandal, and his wife's name was Dorika. And they had several children, but unfortunately all the children died. And then finally they had a son. And they named his son Dookie. I'm sure some of you have heard the story before. They named the son Dookie, which means unhappy. Why? Because they're thinking, oh, when Yamaraj sees that this child is unhappy, maybe he'll have compassion and he won't, Yamaraj won't take him. So this way they were thinking. So Dookie, he was born in 1535. So this is after Lord Chaitanya's disappearance, I believe, or shortly before. At any rate, so at a very young age, in school, this boy Dookie was showing great signs of intellect and interest in studies, and the teachers were very impressed. But mostly, he was very attracted to hearing about Lord Chaitanya's pastimes. So much so that in his teens, he told his father, you know, I have heard of a saintly person and with great qualities, and I want to go study under him. He lives in a town called Ambika Kalna. Prabhu, you've been to Ambika Kalna? I had the great fortune of going there in 84. We jumped a train. There's two of us. Because I had heard of the Lord Chaitanya had gone to Ambika. This is another pastime here. Lord Chaitanya had gone to Ambika Kalna. Gauradas Pandit, I believe was the name of his disciple. Lord Chaitanya's disciple, who, when he heard that Lord Chaitanya had taken sannyas and now was going to leave, he told Lord Chaitanya, please don't go. And Lord Chaitanya says, well, you have my deity form here. He says, yeah, but it's not the same. So then, and Lord Chaitanya told me there's no difference between the deity and myself. And then Gauradas said, well, if there's no difference, why don't you stay and let the deity go? And the deity got off the altar, Lord Chaitanya got off the altar. And this went back and forth like that. So finally, the devotee was confused, and actually Lord Chaitanya left and the deity stayed. There's the beautiful deities of Gauritai with their arms outstretched. So in this town, Ambika Kalna, lived a saintly personality. His name was Hridoy Chaitanya. And so, with the permission of his parents, Dookie set out to meet this great teacher. And when he arrived there, Hridoy Chaitanya was in meditation, Krishna and Balaram. Because he was in that mood of worship, as a coward boy. And and so he received Dookie Krishna, and Dookie Krishna began to serve him so nicely. And he gave him service of watering, I forget, it was in the beginning, no, it wasn't initially, he was just serving in different ways. And then at one point, Duke Krishna, Hare Krishna was so pleased with him that he did give him initiation. And he gave him the name Duke Krishna Das. So Duke Krishna Das was engaged in the service of the spiritual master. And after some time, he asked Hare Chaitanya if it was okay if he went on pilgrimage. So Duke Krishna went on pilgrimage for 8 years. And this is common. We hear of, Vidura going on pilgrimage, Lord Chaitanya going on pilgrimage all over India. And when he returned, Duke Krishna, Hare Chaitanya was just waiting for him. And then he gave Duke Krishna Das the service of watering the flowers in the garden. They had deities of Gornitai, and he asked Duke Krishna to water the flowers in the garden. So he would go to the Ganges, get water, put the pots on his head, and then bring it back and forth like that. And he was just so absorbed in that service, just thinking about it. And here he is providing assistance for the flowers, which we offer to Lord Chaitanya. He had tears in his eyes. And so much so that the service continued, that because of the pot on his head, this created some irritation on his head. There were wounds on his head, and it became infested with worms. It was just like all infected. And one day when he was pouring the pot, Hare Chaitanya saw that the worm fell from his head. And he felt so much compassion to him. He embraced Duke Krishna Das, and then, because of this mystic power, took his hand and did away with all the wounds and the infection. And seeing his disciple so committed to the path of devotion, he then instructed him, I want you to go to Vrindavan. Now you are qualified to go and worship Radha Krishna. So of course we worship Radha Krishna, but we worship in the mood of Lakshmi Narayana. And it's by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada and the specific succession that we're even allowed to be able to worship these forms. But traditionally, one had to undergo great austerities and great levels of commitment and devotion in order to come to the platform of worshiping Radha Krishna. So here he's being instructed by his guru to go to Vrindavan and take shelter of Jiva Goswami. And when he arrived in Vrindavan, he sought Jiva Goswami out and took shelter of Jiva Goswami. And initially, he was worshiping deities in a cave. I forget the names of the deities. And this continued for some time. And one day, Jiva Goswami told him, now I would like for you to do some service in Seva Kunj. You were there recently? Seva Kunj? And according to what I heard from Indradu Maharaj, that Seva Kunj is a very, very special place where intimate pastimes of the Lord have taken place 5,000 years ago. But because such pastimes also continue in its unmanifested form, we don't see it. But this is still going on. Seva Kunj is considered a very private place, and there's actually a wall around it, and people can't go there at night. So Jiva Goswami instructed Duke Krishna Das to go in and do some seva down seva, to go and clean the area. So he was cleaning the area, and every day just thinking about this service and the dust, it was a stimulation in remembering Krishna. Oh, 5,000 years ago, Krishna was actually walking in this place. Like that, he's thinking. So he's always in ecstasy doing the service. Now, one night, Radha and Krishna and the gopis came to that place, and while engaged in their dance, everything became extremely, the dance went on in a very such a feverish way that Radharani lost one of her ankle bells. And then early in the morning, they all went back to their residence. So Dukhi Krishna Das, he comes to the Kunj in the morning, and he finds a place in a very unusual situation. There's petals, flower petals everywhere. He says, I've never seen it like this before. And the place had this glow, and then all of a sudden he sees something sticking out of the ground. It's shining, it's golden, and actually this is where the aura is coming from. And actually it's got this beautiful scent, and there's sapphires on it. So he takes this little trowel, this metal trowel, and he digs it up, and as soon as the trowel touches the ankle bell, it turns into 24 karat gold. So he takes the ankle bell, cleans it up, dusts it off, and he wraps it in a cloth. So then meanwhile, Radharani and her associates, they realize, oh, I lost an ankle bell. So Radharani told Lalita, please go and see if you can find it in the Kunj anywhere. And there's a specific reason she told Lalita, but I'll mention that later. So Lalita goes to the Kunj, and she dresses up just like an ordinary young girl, and then she sees Dukhi Krishna Das, and she says, hey, did you happen to find an ankle bell here? My sister lost it last night. And she says, as a matter of fact, I did. And then he pulls it out and shows it. But of course, this ankle bell is like very precious, very, it's also a very expensive piece. So Dukhi Krishna Das, he's got his doubts. He said, you say this is your sister's? How could this be your sister's? A poor young girl. How can she afford something like that? He says, oh, you don't understand. We have a special kind of wealth. Surely they do. And but Dukhi Krishna Das wasn't satisfied with that answer. And he said, let me bring it to your sister. I want to see this kind of wealth that she has. So Lalita was getting a little bit impatient. So then she finally agreed, but then she told him, she says, first you have to go bathe. She says, I have to go bathe before I go and see your sister. And then, so Lalita was like, Radharani is anxiously waiting for ankle bell, and so Lalita decides to reveal who she is. And she reveals herself to Dukhi Krishna Das, and when he sees her, he just faints. So Dukhi Krishna Das is actually gaining entrance into the unmanifested pastimes of the Lord. This is what's happening. And Lalita gives him a Radha mantra to chant. So, without making the story here too long, Dukhi Krishna Das, not only was he given this mantra, but when he went to bathe in the water, when he came out as a 12-year-old girl in his original form as Kanaka Manjari. He's actually a Manjari. So he appeared before Radharani, and Radharani took the ankle bell and imprinted it on his forehead to create like a tilak, which was actually her lotus foot. And also, in his chest, Shamananda. And then she manifested from her heart a deity, an actual deity of Shamasundar. And when Duki Krishna Das, now known as Shamananda, and Kanaka, Manjar, he just fainted. And when he came back to consciousness, he was instructed to go and reveal this. So he went to Jiva Goswami and told him everything that had happened. And Jiva Goswami was extremely joyful at hearing this. And of course, I can't quote the references here, but there's so many references to this pastime. And Indra Swami is offering a glimpse into more details. So Jiva Goswami had a marble stone set in that place where Duki Krishnadas had darshan with Radharani. I don't know if did you see this? Because Indra said he hadn't been there in so long, he doesn't know if that marble stone is still there. But apparently it's still there. Could still be there. So anyway, so he's relating everything to Jiva Goswami, and then other people were here, everybody was hearing about it. So some people who were pilgrims who were visiting from West Bengal, they went back to Hridoy Chaitanya and reported to Hridoy Chaitanya that your Duki Krishnadas has rejected you and has taken another name. So we're getting back to the principle of guru-disciple. So, and of course this is going into, all levels of spiritual development to the point of coming in contact with Radharani. But remember that this all begins with Duki Krishna's, strong desire to want to take up the spiritual path and rendering menial service over and over again to both Hridoy Chaitanya, to Jiva Goswami, and then ultimately coming to the point of having darshan with Radharani herself. So when Hridoy Chaitanya heard from these pilgrims that Krishna Das had rejected him and taken on a new name, he was, he was disturbed by this news, but he wanted to see exactly what had happened. So he went to Vrindavan with other people, brahmanas and so on, and they went to check the situation. And when he got there, he saw that Duki Krishnadas had this tilak and his name Shamananda on his chest. So Hridoy Chaitanya took a cloth with some sand and he says, I will rub this tilak off your forehead and also this name, and only I will accept you if it comes back, if it remanifests. And at that point, Hridoy Chaitanya, Duki Krishna, he asked for a few minutes of privacy, 48 minutes to be specific, and he went and prayed the Radha mantra. He prayed the Radha mantra, and he again entered into the unmanifested pastime of the Lord and had darshan with Radharani again. And she told him, she revealed to him, she says, look, your spiritual master, Hridoy Chaitanya, is a disciple of Gadadhar Pandit. And Gadadhar Pandit is Subal. In Krishna's pastime, Gadadhar Pandit is Subal. He's a coward boy. He's an associate, an eternal associate of the Lord. And so you remind him of this, that sometimes Gadadhar Pandit would also arrange, or Subal, or make arrangements for Radha to meet with the gopis. So there's an overlap in the rasas of conjugal and also fraternal. So in this way, she's explaining. You tell this to Hridaya Chaitanya. So when he came back to mortal world and he told his spiritual master. He actually didn't tell him this right away. When he came back, the name reappeared on his chest and the tilak. So at this point, all the brahmanas and everything, they were just all so excited, and they were just glorifying and chanting the holy names. And Hridaya Chaitanya was pacified with this. But then later on, while they were going through Vrindavan, they saw a troupe of individuals who were performing pastimes of Radha and the gopis. And when Dukhi Krishnadas, now Shyamananda, saw this, he went into ecstasy, rolling on the ground. And so Hridaya Chaitanya could understand that Shyamananda is now exhibiting this mood, of the conjugal mood. So he couldn't appreciate that. He could not appreciate that. And he became very angry with him, and he said, "Look, we're in this particular mood. Being a disciple of Gadadhar Pandit, we're in the mood of the cowboys, not in the mood of the gopis." And then, but Shyamananda told him, he says, I cannot, this is my inclination. And when Hridaya Chaitanya heard this, then he became very angry. He took a stick and started to hit him. So, let's understand that these are all pastimes, and then people were like, okay, the brahmanas, okay, no, stop hitting him. And they were getting upset with Hridaya Chaitanya. But then Shyamananda, who was just extremely humble, he said, "No, my teacher he's beating, he's concerned for me." He was actually glorifying his spiritual master in spite of the beatings. And so then they parted. And then that night, Hridaya Chaitanya had a dream. And Lord Chaitanya himself appeared to him in that dream and told him that he was not happy. He says, "You beating Dukhi Krishnadas, now Shyamananda. He is, I forget how it was put, but he is basically none other than myself. He's my dear disciple, my dear devotee. And you were wrong in chastising him in this way." And when Lord Chaitanya appeared, he had the marks on his body, and blood on his cloth, and so on. So Hridaya Chaitanya, in the dream, he was communicating with Lord Chaitanya and saying he felt so disturbed by what he had done that he wanted to commit suicide. And Lord Chaitanya says, "No, you just prepare 12 feasts for the Vaishnavas." And when he came back to, he fulfilled that commitment. And of course, the relationship between Shyamananda and Hridaya Chaitanya everything was rectified. So, of course, these pastimes are, very deep, and but what we can learn from them is in a relationship with the spiritual master, we'll be faced with so many challenges. But if we establish the understanding what this relationship is, and keep Krishna at the center, and this particular pastime also, it says Kardama Muni became the spiritual master. But despite the extreme gratitude that Devahuti would have for her guru, her husband, she never lost sight of the fact that it is Krishna, God, who is at the center. She began to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And the spiritual master is the conduit. And in our relationship, both with the spiritual master and also with other Vaishnavas, we will be tested in these relationships. And so it is imperative, it is very important that we understand a deep philosophy. And so the principle of oneness and difference, Guru is one, and Diksha is one, but Shiksha is many. Because Guru is one, Shiksha is many. Because the message is one. Krishna is Guru, ultimately. So, we'll stop here. If any comments or questions, or anything someone would like to add, I'll subtract what I said. Another point here, towards the end of the purport, Srila Prabhupada speaks about that the Guru has given instruction, and one follows his instruction in good faith. And that faith is revolved around the understanding that Krishna is situated within everyone's heart. So this is another aspect of Guru, Chaitya Guru. Krishna is situated within the heart. Interestingly, Prabhupada says one does not have to seek the Lord outside. Not an absolute statement that we don't have to seek the Lord outside. I mean, yes, if we have this firm faith, we can eventually come to the point of hearing the Lord within the heart. But we can take counsel from outside in the form of the deity, seeking the Lord in the form of the deity. And he says, it's also clear that the Supreme Personality of Godhead does not appear as an ordinary child. He appears as he is. See, this can be taken cheaply also. That, oh, Krishna, he takes birth in Vrindavan, little coward boy, and he does this activity. And if we think materially, then begin to try to imitate, then that is also very offensive. But that Krishna doesn't appear as an ordinary child. He's already fully manifest, even within the heart of the living entity. Arjuna actually made this very clear, and Krishna made it very clear in answering Arjuna's question. For example, in the Bhagavad Gita, when Krishna makes the statement that he instructed the science of yoga to the sun god. And then Arjuna said, how's that possible? Right? So Arjuna's thinking materially, how's it possible you instructed this to the sun god? The sun god is so much older than you. Right? So Arjuna's thinking, oh, here's Krishna, he's my cousin, he's whatever, 20 years old. What was Krishna's reply? Many, many births, both you and I have passed. I remember them all, but you cannot. deteriorates. And although I'm the Lord of all sentient beings, still I appear in my original transcendental form. Again and again. So, that is Krishna's position. So even though he appears out of the womb, later on we'll hear how he appears as Lord Kapila from the womb of Devavati. He comes as her son out of her strong desire to have the Lord as her son. But he's never really her son. Yeah, materially speaking, it's not her son. Any comments or questions? And I will stop here. Thank you very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to some devotees. All glories to Srimad Bhagavatam.
Yeah.
Devananda Prabhu ki
Yeah.